Welcome everybody, welcome to this video on Long Distance Leader by Kevin and Wayne, Rules for Remarkable Remote Leadership. Rules for Remarkable Remote Leadership. My name is Anil Kumar and this is a read and lead series of videos. Many leaders face isolation because the team members are not face to face, team members are far away. 80% of the managers supervise somebody or the other who is in a remote location. 90% of the teams include someone or the other who is operating from a remote location. So, how do we have a leadership or a management in a situation where people are working from remote locations? Remote leadership is fundamental rule is that leadership always matters more than location. It is a leadership that matters and not the location. That's a fundamental rule, the number one rule. How do we do this? There are some 19 small rules that makes achievable a remarkable remote leadership situation. For long distance leaders, the principles of leadership don't change, but leadership techniques will differ a little bit here and there. Long distance leaders and remote workers must routinely seek objective feedback. The most important thing is, first thing, leadership matters. Second thing, continuously seek objective feedback. Routinely, continuously seek objective feedback. Human behavior stays the same. Leadership matters more than the location. It is complex, it is multi-layered. And when the boss is not there and when it is out of sight, it is more difficult, but it remains the basic principles are the same. Leadership calls for action that leads to identifying and meeting goals and achieving results. This is same everywhere. Leadership calls for action that leads for identifying and meeting the goals and achieving the results. So there is a goal and you have a task to do and ensure that your task's results are in alignment with the overall goal. Leadership is what makes you do this. Leadership goal or leadership people, when you and your team are in the same place, it is easy because communication of the goal or understanding of the objective or feedback on the outcome is easy. Leading calls for vision, influence, direction, development, and this remains same whether it is in remote location or in face-to-face location. Leading calls for vision, influence, direction, development. Just focus on what has always made the leader effective. That is, identifying the goals, achieving results, providing feedback, communicating the vision, inspiring the leaders by influencing them, giving them directions, tools and necessary resources, and then helping their development. Now, what are the 19 rules? Of the 19 rules, some of them are leadership comes first, location is second, leading remotely means leading differently, heed personal interdynamics, so continuously routinely seek feedback, use technology as a tool, the 3O model of leadership, the outcome and things like that. Remote leaders must reach many kinds of objectives. Remote leaders have multiple objectives compared to the face-to-face leaders. Focus on achieving the goals, not just setting them. Achieving the goals is important, not just goal setting. Coach your team effectively wherever they are. Communication in the ways that work best for others should be adopted. And then try to understand your workers' point of view. These are 10 of the 19 rules. The development of the internet and email and rise of the long distance workers, remote leadership is increasingly common. Remote working, remote team, remote leadership is happening almost in every situation, in every team. Some managers worry about what their remote workers are doing during work days. Why? Because either you have not set the goal properly so that the team is not aware of the expectations, or you don't have trust, or the team is not feeling inspired and motivated because you are not conveyed the meaning properly. So the leader must focus attention on the people they lead without placing too much emphasis on the workers' remote location. Forget the location. You are not worried about the location. You should be worried about how the team feels, what is their emotional and what is their feeling level, how they are committed to the job. What is that we have communicated to them? Have we conveyed the vision in a fashion that they feel the purpose and meaning in their actions? Leadership is first, location is second. Next comes leading differently. When you speak well, when you listen well, when you always focus your attention directly on the other party, when you read the non-verbal cues, you are able to communicate well. Maybe it is not enough to communicate because when you are having a remote team, they may not be able to, they may get your tone or modulation on the phone. They will not get your body languages. You might be great at face-to-face communication, but you may not be great at writing a memo for them, sending out an email, talking to them on phone. As long distance leader, you need to communicate. That is the first skill that you need to develop. Communication, communicate with nuance, communicate with clarity. Even if it is instant messages or a full-fledged letter, it is better to use the latest online collaboration tools, the meeting platforms, the shared spaces and other high-tech tools, so that all of you are on the same page. Then comes the interpersonal dynamics. You are in different locations and so it might alter the relationship. Interacting without meeting face to face can sim clear communication. Go for video conferencing as much as you can. There is a complex responsibility because of insufficient hands-on authority. So you should not be looking at having authority or orders, but you should be looking at imbibing the team to have an inspired and motivated action. The basic principles of leading doesn't change. Only you need to develop solid working relationship to communicate your vision and provide feedback and ask for feedback. Both the parties will feel the lack of facial cues in tonal subtleties when you are talking. It may not be possible to communicate such non-verbal cues in a communication when you are having a party far from you, not face to face. So the effective leader need to understand how to nourish and sustain positive relations when you should have trust and confidence, so that the communication is properly understood in the same sense. This is interpersonal dynamics. Then comes the 3O model. What are the 3 O's? One is most important, ourselves. We talk about only ourselves. Next is the outcome, whereby you guide people to specific goals. The important thing is outcome. That is why you do an action. And then others, where other people become your primary tool. So you use your peers, subordinates and the team. You look at the outcomes and you look at yourself. You are leading by example, where no action, good or bad, takes place without you, because you are the guide, you are the leader. Wise leaders prioritize outcome and other people. Wise leaders prioritize outcome and other people, and it will not be giving place for the me, mine type of situation when you do something. Then comes the many kinds of objectives. Never assume that distant workers fully understand the relevant team goals. Assumptions and presumptions are very bad. So you need to communicate continuously about the long-term objectives, the team's objectives, the task on hand, the expected outcome, how it will be measured, what are the rewards and recognition, what are the penalties, and why things should go wrong, and how frequently there should be feedback on the progress. Communicate your goals to your team clearly. Give them necessary context, the sense of perspective, the meaning, the why you do certain things, and how their action fits into the team's goal and organizational goal. State your expectations to the team. Hold the employees responsible. Accountability, responsibility go together. But then you also have to give them the tools, the resources for getting things done. Mostly remote employees might tend to look at their own goals. So communicating the organization goal is important. Focus on achieving the goals, not just setting them. Goal setting is good, but achieving the goals is more important. So you need to have a plan to implement. You need to have the buy-in of the team to work for you. Everyone learns about setting goals in colleges and schools, but implementing is in practical life. You need to have measurable goals. It should be easier to attain, sometimes stretchable. Determine how many components each goal has. Slice it, dice it, give it to the team object-wise, task-wise, team-wise, function-wise, so that individual employee will know what they need to do and they will know when they have attained the goal. Because they should know the results that is expected of them. They should know the outcome. So the metrics that is applied should be clear and transparent. Link goal setting with goal planning. Then comes the coaching the team. You need to motivate them, train them, teach them. To be a viable coach, you should assume that people have benevolent intentions. Even if somebody makes a mistake, you should assume that they intended the good of the organization. Coach them regularly. Give them regular and continuous feedback. Be conscious, be intentional when you speak, be it about the goal or be it about the outcome. You are not coaching if you do all the talking. You are not coaching if you do all the talking. Listen, attentive listening, careful listening, deep listening. Listening not to respond or react but to understand. That is more important. Only then you can seek to be understood. Your long distance interaction must be genuine, and for that it has to be two-way communication, a dialogue. Communicate in the ways that work best for others. Everybody has a different way of communication or different way of accepting or receiving or giving or working with communication. Just like a team meeting, you cannot just call everybody and say the same thing on a phone, and it doesn't happen that easily when you have a remote team. Remote workers differ from one another in substantial ways, and their environment and situation and time of the day and things like that matters a lot. So adopt different ways to communicate with different people. Tailor your interaction method, tailor your communication methods, tailor your conveying style with the background of the remote worker. It should be tailor-made to each individual's work style, their preferences, their needs, their personality, their culture. Don't impose one size fits all in a remote team. One remote worker may want the boss to check in on a regular basis. Another remote worker may say, you have given me the task and you have said what outcome is expected. Just leave me alone. I will implement and I give you the result that you want. So, people may say, remote check-in is micromanagement, which they may not like. So, different ways of communication or managing for different people needs to be adopted when you have a remote location leadership requirement. Don't pay attention to what your remote workers do. Figure out the interactions, the roles, the power, the communication that happens, the information that flows in, the way the data flows, the way the people connect with each other. Make sure each of the team feel part of the organization. Make sure the organization visions and plans are in sync. Minimize office politics among the remote workers and help them to work together. They should not feel left out. They should feel they are part of the team. They should not wander out of the team arena. Consider what's in their mind. Reassure them. Make them not feel pressured. Make them not get into the politics. No employee should have a need to manipulate for the power, but should understand the relationship and contribute to the overall good. So basically the requirement is that you have to assess the individual by various methods, maybe EDIC or Myers-Briggs or Strengths Finder, and then by finding out what their strengths are, what their orientation is, train them, coach them, motivate them, skill them. Don't play guessing games. Simply ask them how they want you to work with them. Ask them what they want. Ask them how are they doing. Ask them how are they implementing their plans to ensure that the task you gave will lead to the outcome that you want. Ask them how you can help them succeed. Written word takes far more importance in a remote team because everything is written and sent out, not just face-to-face feedback. So keep on seeking feedback. Keep on asking them. Don't do the talking all by yourself. The next set of 19 rules are building trust at the distance doesn't happen by accident. You need to consciously do it. Identify the most effective tools that could be used for keeping the team together. Get the highest capacity out of each tool, that is leverage on the technology. Keep sending and receiving feedback. Examine your beliefs and self-talk. Then comes accepting that you cannot do it all. You are a person with just two hands. You cannot do everything. You need to delegate. You need to have a team. You need to have a support. So serving each other is the main cornerstone of remote leadership. You need to balance your priorities. You need to prepare for future long distance leaders because you need to build more leaders. You should be futuristic and humanistic in your approach. And when everything else fails, remember, leadership remains the same. Leadership is more important than anything else. Location should not be a filter in between. Building trust. Trust is evidence based. If your actions are trustworthy, then you will be able to influence. If you are able to demonstrate success, people will believe you. To establish trust, you need to nurture a common purpose. You have to look at the motives, the competence between your home, office and the remote workers. To have trust, you need to be strategic about meetings. You have to delegate publicly. You have to establish connections. In every meeting, you need to speak about what the tasks are, what the outcome is, how you measure. You have to be consistent and you have to have the same scale for everybody. How will I know what they are working if I can't see them? Is not the question that you should be asking. You are seeing them is secondary. Have you communicated well? Are you getting timely feedback? Are you giving corrective criticism? Are you able to communicate your expectations and buy in the influence or the inspiration or the motivation of the team? That is what matters. Minimize the conflict. Ensure that people know that you don't favor one over the other. You are fair, you are trustworthy. Identify the most effective communication tools. Today, technology helps you a lot. You have to depend on a lot of high-tech communication to communicate with your remote locations. The best tools for communication can be different for different teams. Choose rightly. It's your responsibility to know what are the tools available, how they are helpful, and how to use them, and how it serves your purpose. You have to make best use of all possible tools available in the company. Know what are the advantages, which to use when, and what are the disadvantages, and how to deploy the tool for the overall benefit of the team to achieve its goals. Get the highest capacity of each tool. Effectiveness is as important as efficiency. So go for effectiveness. Stay up to date on the latest advancement in science and technology. The acceleration is there in the technological changes that happens on a daily basis. So go for the latest video chat service or video meetings or webcams or web meetings or text meetings or instant messaging or whatever, maybe SharePoint, maybe Google Docs, maybe MS Teams, maybe Basecamp. So build in the best practices from the best tools and then implement it in a fashion that suits the team well. Send feedback. Every leader requires unbiased, objective feedback. Unless you give feedback that your expectations are met or not, the team will not know to provide the feedback as to where they have reached, that is what their outcomes are based on the efforts that they put in. People can rely upon you to be honest if and only if you are honest with your feedback. Ask questions, allow free-ranging answers, keep on listening. Don't try to gain in one conversation all that you want to know. Several interactions in several formats over a period of time would be required. Find that outside consultants can coordinate and help you with a 360-degree assessment sometimes. That would be necessary. You need to have an expert analysis of the data that you collect. So getting feedback, giving feedback, and knowing where you stand and why and what corrective action is required is a 24/7 thing. You need to examine your beliefs and self-talk. You need to look at your ego. As a remote leader, you don't have all the time feedback coming from your team, but because you are not face to face all the time. So look at the example of an auriga. There is an auriga or a concept of auriga, a person who stands behind a Roman emperor and whispers in his ear, "Memento homo." Memento homo means you should remember that you are just a human being. So the emperor should not be carried away by his ego. This is necessary because the public will be adulating, will be appreciating, will be praising the emperor. So the emperor should not be carried away. So the auriga stands and says this. Likewise, if somebody questions you or if somebody gives a negative information, you may not be liking. But you need an auriga to help you remain grounded. Only then you will be able to remain a leader. What are your self-beliefs? I can't do this. Are you telling to yourself? If so, you will never get anything done. You need definitive procedures, checklists, templates, reminders to keep you going. To help you and your faraway team members visualize the shared objectives, you need a format in which you proceed to reach your objective, to implement your tasks. Accept that you cannot do all. Accept that you need support from your peers, from your subordinates, from your teams. Your responsibilities are to your organization, to your team, to your customers, to yourself. You have lots of responsibilities. Balance your professional and personal life. If you don't take care of yourself, you will not take care of your team. If you don't take care of your team, you will not take care of your family. And then your organization will be nowhere near the goal. So you need to know how to handle the responsibilities and the roles that you play. How to organize. You need to have a timetable and you need to have an implementation plan. Ask yourself, if I die tomorrow, what will happen to the team? What will happen to the organization? What will happen to the family? Are you doing enough to each of the role to ensure that the firm and the family will be functioning and reaching their goals. So accept that you cannot do it all. You need a cooperative, collaborative, coordinated efforts of everybody together to achieve this goal. So communicate well, convey well, be good. Don't think and act as if you are an indispensable asset. Have a balance. Take help, give help. Plan succession and have a balance. Then comes the balancing your priorities. You need to know what is important, what is urgent, what is to be done, what is to be delegated, what is to be deferred, what is to be killed and died and thrown away deep down. Make smart choices about spending your limited resources, be it time, be it money. Keep in mind that time management is really choice management. When you say yes to something mediocre, you are saying no to something that is better, that is important, that is necessary. So manage your time, manage your choices, choose wisely, prioritize, list down what is important for you to reach your goal. Do those things that bring in more closer to your goal, that really matters. If something can be done by somebody else, delegate that. Your important choices should be properly prioritized both in personal and professional life, because in both the places there is a demand on the limited resources. You need to also set aside some time for your sharpening your saw from a physical perspective, exercise, keeping the body well, jog, etc. Likewise, mental perspective, reading, relaxation, learning new skills and developments in the market, things like that. Also, spiritual side. You need to have time to be allocated to various aspects of you for your various roles. Every role you need to give equal respect and balance the priorities. Being good in one and good for nothing in another will not really make you an all-rounded leader. Prepare future long-distance leaders. This is succession planning. You need to have more leaders in the team so that the organization can continue as a going concern. Conceptualize your ideas. Take feedback. See what works and what not. See what needs to be polished more. Stay mindful of your organization's long-term futuristic plan. What is the future status of your organization? What is the future status of the industry? What would be necessary? How the technology will change? How the geography is changing? What new things will a future leader need to do? Train, reskill, and coach the people. How will you and your company support remote leaders? The people who are in remote location, who are going to become a leader and come in to take your place. You need to have a plan for that. Structure your development activities accordingly. What qualities, what characteristics needs to be identified or improved or developed or polished or encouraged. Think about leadership first, location subsidiary. Having clear goals, building a relationship, providing encouragement and correction is the basis of a leadership. Having a clear goal, having a plan, building a relationship with the team who will work for you, providing them encouragement so that the employees will find the purpose and meaning in life, and then giving them corrective feedback. This is the basis of leadership. It is not enough if you are educated or inspired or entertained. What is important is you need to act. You need a plan to go forward. So the other leadership rules that we saw, or the 19 rules that will make you remarkable in a remote location, is building trust at the distance doesn't happen by accident. Identify the most effective communication tool, get the best out of the technology, seek feedback, 360-degree feedback maybe, examine your beliefs and self-talk, control your ego, accept that you cannot do it all. You need to have right balance in your life by providing respect, recognition to each of the role that you play, personal and professional life. You have to balance your priorities, choose wisely, allocate your time well, prepare for future leaders. All this you need to do. Not only that, leadership is the most important thing, or the first thing. Location should not be the decision factor for leadership. Leading remotely means leading differently. Heed to the personal dynamics, interpersonal dynamics. Use technology as a tool. The 3O model: the other, the outcome, and the output, or the efforts that you put in, and ourselves. Remote leaders must reach many kinds of objectives. You have a multiple goal to reach. Focus on achieving the goals and not just setting them. Coach your team effectively. Communicate in the ways that work well. Convey your expectations. Try to understand their point of view before seeking to be understood. So this is about Remarkable Remote Leadership by Kevin and Wayne. Thanks for listening to this video. Anil Kumar here.